Mummy Awakens. Universal Monsters comic recap 1 Thebes 1912. The city stretches out under a hazy sun, ancient ruins standing alongside bustling streets. The air shimmers with heat. Your name is Helen. A young girl with pigtails, her green eyes wide with apprehension, stares out from the shadows. This is where you were born 7 years ago, a land so hot it suffocates to take a breath. Egypt, once ruled by God-touched kings, now suffering beneath the boot of foreigners. Helen's mother, her face framed by a red hijab, smiles warmly. This is your mother. Her father, a stern-looking man in a suit, stands beside a colleague. And that is your father, a voice whispers. You are too young to yet know how complicated your life will be as the daughter of a British man and an Egyptian woman. A local man points at the British excavators. See, they're digging for treasure. Young Helen asks. Why? He answers. It's what the British have hired them to do. The British want to take the past out of the ground, so people who live now can see how their ancestors lived. A pulley system groans under the weight of massive stones, revealing the depths of an ancient tomb. A cracking sound echoes as a massive stone crushes a worker's leg. He screams in agony. The British overseer barks, "Compensate that worker and continue excavating. We mustn't lose the day." His colleague replies, "Too many accidents. The workers are saying the site is cursed." The overseer cuts him off. "Nonsense. Fire anyone who spreads that filth." Nearby, young Helen spots something on the ground. She picks it up, her eyes widening as she examines a stone tablet etched with an ancient Egyptian face. Thebes, 1921. Night falls over the city. On a rooftop, a group of young Egyptians gathers, sharing food and conversation. A woman lights a cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating her face. Smoke drifts into the cool night air as they talk, laugh, and dream under the watchful gaze of the ancient city. A young man smiles, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Haven't seen you around much lately, Helen." Helen, a young woman with short curly hair, replies, "I've been busy." Another young woman interjects, "Too busy with that posh British school to slum it with us." Her name is Ayamesu. A woman says, "You used to play together when you were both children before you realized how different you were. Now you are both 16 and the difference feels like a vast ocean." Helen says, "I hate that school. I only go because my father makes me." A thoughtful man replies, "That part is true. You do hate the school." Ayamesu says, "The British kids are so stuck up. All they do is complain about Thebes and whine that they want to go back to England." The young man smiles sadly. "You want so much for these young people to be your friends, but you know they are only humoring you," he says. "Imagine missing a country where it rains all year. They know they're the children of the servants of your father's estate, and you will always be their employer's daughter." Music drifts through the night air. A woman with a headscarf says, "That music's coming from the new nightclub. What's it called?" A man says, "The Pharaoh's Mistress, I think." Ayamesu scoffs. "Come to Egypt, foreign tourists get a taste of exotic culture. Pathetic." She asks, "How strange it is to feel out of place. Is Thebes not your home? Are you not a child of Egypt too?" The young man says, "I tried to sneak into that club last week, but they caught me. I just wanted to dance." Helen grins. "I bet I can get us in." Essam looks up, surprised. "What? How?" Helen says, "One of the bouncers works for my father. I overheard him yesterday saying he'd be working the door." A woman says sarcastically, "Of course, everyone in the city works for your father. You feel the heat of Thebes at night in your bones. You usually want so badly to live up to your parents' expectations, but tonight you push all thoughts of them away. Tonight you want something different." Helen and her friends walk down the street toward the nightclub. Essam smiles. "Told you I'd get you in." Helen grins. "You did, our hero." They join the throng of dancers, the music washing over them. But suddenly Helen freezes, her eyes widening with alarm. "Ah," Helen says, "my father sent his assistant after me. We need to go." Ayamesu says, "You mean you have to go? It's nothing to do with us." Helen replies, "You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me," Essam says. "Come on, Helen, there'll be an exit out the kitchen. Let's go." They run through the kitchen, bursting out into the night. The group runs down the street, laughter bubbling up despite their hasty escape. Helen says, "Let's go to the dig site." A voice whispers, "You don't know why you suggest going into the desert. The ruins call to you." Ayamesu protests, "Don't go with her. You'll get into trouble if you're caught. Real trouble." But Helen and Essam are already running towards the excavation site. "It feels so good, this boy choosing you." You don't yet know what love is, but this feels like Essam turns to Helen. She says, you came. Feels like under the light of the full moon, Helen and Essam reach the dig site, tents silhouetted against the night sky. Inside one tent, a man opens a box, peering inside. He mutters, Dr. Muller said not to open it, but what harm ever came from opening a box? In the corner, an open sarcophagus reveals a wrapped mummy inside. The man pulls out a scroll, exclaiming, the Scroll of Thoth. He unrolls it on the table, his brow furrowed. It doesn't seem too difficult to translate. Oh, Amun-Ra, oh, God of gods. A voice booms in Helen's mind. Death is but the doorway to new life. We live today. We shall live again. Inside the tent, the mummy's hand twitches. Helen stumbles, Essam calling her name as he tries to steady her. She collapses, unconscious. Essam runs after her, his face etched with worry. Helen lies still in the sand. The man looks up in terror as the towering figure of the mummy looms over him, a hand resting on his shoulder. He clutches the Scroll of Thoth, his eyes wide with fear. Helen gasps, jolting awake. Where am I? Where am I? She wonders. This isn't my home, this isn't it's different. Who is speaking, who is? Her eyes dart around, fear etched on her face. Helen looks up, her eyes wide with dread. On the crest of a nearby dune, bathed in the eerie light of the full moon, stands the mummy. A voice in her head whispers, What have you done? Startled, Helen loses her footing and tumbles down the sandy slope. She lands with a F-wump, the mummy still standing silently on the dune above. Helen lies unconscious on the sand back at their opulent home. Helen's mother sits quietly as her father scolds. Why are you so angry? Nothing happened. Her father replies, Nothing happened this time, but what about the next? You can't be gallivanting around the city at night with some servant's son. Helen retorts, Essam is my friend. He'd never do anything to hurt me. Her father booms, enough. I won't have my only daughter's reputation sullied. You're forbidden from seeing those children ever again. Helen shouts, That isn't fair. Her father concludes, Go to bed, Helen. You have school in the morning. Helen pleads with her mother, Mother, I just want to see my friends. Can't you understand that? Her mother sighs, Respect your father and do as he says. Helen argues, What if I don't want to live like the British? Her mother gently cups Helen's face, her expression sad. I do understand, but your father is British, and because we love him, we must live as the British do. That is not a choice my daughter can make, Helen. Defeated, Helen turns and walks away. Helen slams the door to her room, the sound echoing through the house. She throws herself onto the bed in frustration. WHISSHHH. Approaching her vanity, she stares into the mirror and grabs a brush. Her reflection glares back, wild and rebellious. With a furious cry, Helen hurls the brush at the mirror. YRRAKK. The glass shatters into 1,000 pieces, reflecting her shattered emotions. She stares at the broken reflection, her face filled with a mix of anger and despair. Through the fractured mirror, Helen sees a multitude of reflections, each showing a different facet of her identity. A voice whispers, You are so angry. You can feel an Egyptian woman's face materializes in the mirror. Hello, Helen asks. Can you hear me? Wait, who are you? The figure in the mirror responds, You can. Helen, you know my name. I don't. Are you inside my mirror? Helen shakes her head confused. No, not the mirror. You're inside my head. The figure replies, I watched you grow up. I've seen what you've seen as you lived your life. Not every moment, but I've been with you always. She continues, Why haven't I heard you until now? Someone spoke forbidden words out in the desert. For a moment, I was in control of your body, not hidden away like I normally am. Please don't be afraid. I'd never hurt you. The figure in the mirror says, I don't know who I am. Can you help me remember? Helen responds, I'll try. Outside, under the cold light of the moon, the excavation site waits, silent and mysterious. The mummy stands on the edge of Thebes, the city sprawling beneath him under the vast night sky. He clutches a scroll in his hand, his gaze fixed on the ancient metropolis, his bandages trailing in the wind. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, stay awesome, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more amazing content.